So what I wanted to do here today, just to kind of wrap up the season and wrap up every Motivation Monday is, really when AEP and OEP ends, it's really not the end of the sales season, of course, especially when it comes to the Medicare side. Medicare, you can sell it all year round. You've constantly got people aging in, and you've got people that are qualifying for SEPs on both the under 65 and over 65 crowd. So, one of the things that we're going to focus on today is the fact of just because you've done the sale via AEP or OEP doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of everything. So there are things that we're going to focus on today in regards to following up and ways that you can make sure that you can show your client and show your enrollees that you're still there for them, and just really to show that you're going to care. So today's quote that I started with here says, pretend that every single person you meet has a sign around his or her neck that says, make me feel important. Not only will you succeed in sales, you will succeed in life. And that's actually really pertinent in regards to today's sales technique as well, in the fact that, you definitely want to make sure that you're making them feel important and you're doing for them what they need to have done at the time of the sale, but also that importance doesn't just end at the end of that sale. And that means basically following up and following through with that after the fact. So with that said, we will jump right into today's session. So if this is your first Monday with us, or if it is your 100th Monday with us, welcome. And what we're going to do here real quick is we're going to go over some tips of the week today. We're going to view some of the trends, then jump right into our sales leaders for the week, including some of the more updated Medicare sales numbers, and then jump into that sales technique that I was mentioning. So we have a couple different tips of the week this week. So there was a lot of changes in the short-term market. If I were to end the session today, I could probably go back and read some emails, especially with Illinois. There's probably going to be another change, a week or two from now. But with that said, some of the tips we're going to run through today on the NatGen side as of December 14th. So obviously this was just last week on, was that Friday, 14, I believe that's Friday. So as of December 14th, the effective dates are going to be changing, and the ability to quote and request an effective date out to 45 days. Prior to that, week before in Illinois, those are the short-term changes that I was talking about. Short-term medical durations are going to be limited to 6 months. So that was some state laws that were passed in the state of Illinois. States also requiring a 60-day gap between their plans, and the applicants are going to be required to answer the following additional question at the time of the application. So yeah, this is very pertinent in that aspect. So you want to make sure that you're asking them is that, have you or any person applying for coverage been covered under an STM plan marketed by National General Accident and Health in the last 60 days. If they have been, or if they were covered under that, there is a required 60-day gap. So in that aspect, the short-term medical of the 6x2 option is not offered. Pennsylvania, sales are temporarily suspended due to a refile with the NatGen product. Approximate time frame is about 30 to 90 days. We will get you some updated information on that as soon as feasible in that aspect. North Dakota, 6-month terms are available. They also do have the 6x2s that you can write. Kentucky, 12-month terms are now available for the NatGen product. Now, on the UHC side, United Healthcare, Illinois, last day to write a 12-month short-term med in Illinois will be on December 13th. So that was just last week. Effective December 14th, the quoting tool will only allow 6-month terms. And those are the 6x2s that we were discussing there. Of course, as of December 7th for Virginia, only allowing effective dates up to 12/31/18. And this is due to the new requirements that are mandatory on the plans with January 1st of 19 effective dates. There is a new dental product available in California, Delaware, Illinois, Kentucky, and then the others that are located there for the UHC product. And then for HII, Illinois, still offering 12 months plans on that aspect. Compliance training for any HII stuff must be completed by December 31st of this year. And last but not least, Emeritus, last day you can get December coverage for Emeritus is December 27th with the following 28th effective date. On December 28th, the next available effective date is going to be 1/1, and then Emeritus benefits are calendar year. So, with the 2018 effective date, your clients are going to get their coverage year 2 benefit once 1/1/19 rolls around. So, a lot of tips going on. Make sure you're constantly checking your email on that. Those are going to be coming out as they are distributed. So always keep your eye on that every day, all the time. So let's jump right into some of the trends for the day. Everybody has been doing an amazing job. I have seen increases across the board on everything. Again, last week, same thing on the fixed benefit side. Even though there's not really any change, the numbers that we're seeing out there are just extraordinary. So even though while it says no change, that doesn't necessarily mean that there hasn't been any, sales done per se, but the amount of numbers I'm seeing are amazing. Short-term med, NHIC basically across the board except for the accident side, with Golden Rule leading the way on the accident. Critical illness and dental, we got NHIC leading the pack, and again, increases across the board. Amazing job to everybody. You guys are getting out there and just kicking it. Specifically speaking on the individual side, so let's get to some of those sales shout outs. On the limited benefit side, last week we had Kent, Joshua, and Daniel. This week we've got Kent, Tobiah, and Maxwell. Excellent job to all three of you. So I just want to say a special shout out here to everybody, at least specifically throughout the last 6 months that I've been with you, and even prior in the year. We've had a lot of names come up on the board over the last 6 months or so. We've got Katya and Andrew, Nicole and Day, Joshua, Maxwell, Enrique, Daniel, Kent, Joshua, and then of course today Kent, Tobiah, and Maxwell again. You guys have done an amazing job this selling season. So everybody deserves a huge round of applause on that. And similarly, on the short-term med side, this week we have Katya in first place. Katya, you have just been killing it this year. Excellent job. A new name on the board this week, Allison Wilgus in second and Allison Bishop in third. Excellent job to all three of you. And again, likewise on the short-term side here, similarly with the limited side that we mentioned, we've had a lot of names jump up on the board this year. A lot of new names that I hadn't seen previously, and then of course some of our familiar names. But everybody: Richard, Katya, Robert, Jacob, Susan, Lisa, Ruben, Aaron, Mark, Jessica, Dustin, everybody, and then especially this week Katya, Allison, and Allison. You guys have done an amazing job. So again, huge round of applause to everybody this year. The numbers that I'm seeing have been amazing. You guys have been going out there and killing it. So round of applause. Make sure that you give a good shout out to your neighbor if they sit near you, if you know them, if you're selling in your area. Make sure that you reach out and just say thank you and tell them job well done to everybody. Now, last week and the week before, we started some Medicare names out there. So I just wanted to say great work to everybody this week. Last week we had a lot of ties on the board. Last week was actually on the second week I had some Medicare numbers finally, but this week in first we have Michael Kortz, in second Sammy, and in third Alexander Daniels. Excellent job, everybody. So, like I said, we've had a lot of names come in and out here. Heather, Donald, William, Joseph, Tamala, Jeannie, Charity, Robert, Thomas, William, Heather. Excellent job to everybody. You all deserve a huge round of applause. With that said, we're going to jump right into our sales technique for the day. So what we've actually been looking at over the past couple weeks is me specifically, especially with my focus on the Medicare realm, is I started talking about the OEP that's coming up in 2019. So what this OEP is basically allowing what was previously called a disenrollment period. It's going to allow anybody that already is enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan to do a couple different things. As long as they are enrolled and they have an effective date of 1/1, they actually have the ability to switch to a different Medicare Advantage plan, or they could actually drop that Medicare Advantage plan and return to original Medicare. I did have some amazing questions last week in regards to MedSups. Yes, MedSups are out there. You can definitely sell them. Be aware though that this OEP does not generally trigger a guaranteed issue period unless there is an SEP for the client specifically. So keep that in mind when you're out there doing that. The OEP is there to allow them to do the one-time disenrollment and choose a different MA plan or enroll in original Medicare with an add-on Part D RX plan if they're interested. Now, just make sure that you're running through all of the specific compliance measures on that to make sure that you're staying in compliance as well too. And then one of the things to also remember in this is that they can enroll in original Medicare if it's not their IEP as well too. Now, with that said though, like I mentioned at the start here, just utilizing this AEP season for the Medicare and utilizing the OEP season for the under 65 crowd doesn't necessarily mean that that is the end of the sales process. So there's a lot of questions out there, well, should I follow up with my client? should I not follow up? I mean, if I follow up, I run the risk of them maybe changing plans or disenrolling or doing something else and I lose the sale. So there's always that question, is to follow up or not to follow up. And my answer, and it is an overwhelming, resounding yes, I highly recommend following up with your clients. The main reason why is because, again, that sale is not the end of the transaction. What it's going to actually do is continue to show that you value them and that you actually want to keep them as a client for a long-term period. It basically is going to show them that you're not going to be leaving them if they have any follow-up questions, that you're there for the long haul, that you didn't just go in, grab a sale, and then get in and out. You want to make sure that you're constantly reaching out to them and making sure that you follow up if they have questions. Now, where is that line drawn, right? So you don't want to over accentuate the aspect of reaching out, but you don't want to under accentuate it either. So there is a fine line in regards to how deep you should go as far as the post sale. One of the best ways to do that is to make that follow-up personal. I personally enjoy reaching out via phone. Now, if that means just leaving a voicemail, or if it actually means contacting them and talking to them directly, that's fine. If you are going to be leaving a voicemail, make sure that it's short and to the point. If you do reach out to them, obviously, if they're going to speak with you, make sure that you're giving it a very personal touch to the call and not just really, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm just calling to make sure that I follow and check up with you. You really want to make sure that you're personalizing your verbiage. Mrs. Smith, I sold you that Medicare Advantage plan. I just wanted to make sure that you were satisfied with that. If you had any questions, I am here for you. You do have the option to choose a different plan if you're interested at this point, if that one doesn't seem to be working out, or as we discussed, if you're interested, you can always go back to your original Medicare. Now, a lot of the times though, if you don't really want to go into that much detail, you don't have to. You can always just keep it short and to the point if you feel that it's going to trigger any sort of a question on that. It's really at your discretion, but it is highly recommended to at least quickly follow up with them. And then of course, make sure that you're always leaving appropriate contact info. And that's not necessarily just meaning the contact info about you, but that's also the contact info that's appropriate to the plan that they've chosen, specifically if there's any sort of post-sale contact numbers or customer service numbers that they need. Second best way that I would recommend to follow up with somebody is actually going to be via marketing through the U.S. Postal Service. And this can be simply something as simple as a handwritten note, just sending it out saying, thank you for being a customer. I was glad that I could service you this year. If you have any questions, make sure that you reach out to me. And again, make sure that you personalize. Try and avoid form letters when it comes to reaching out to them. I know that this can be time consuming, especially if you have a huge book of business, but this is something that actually can be done in advance and be working on as the season goes through, so that by the time that the sales have closed, you actually have this information ready to roll and you can send out those personalized letters. And then again, on this same aspect, make sure that all of that post-sale contact info is pertinent to the client, making sure that you're providing the proper contact information for yourself, as well as the plan information that they need if there were anything that they need to follow up on. And of course, especially on the Medicare side, as far as the open enrollment period is coming, making sure that you're staying compliant and not alluding to certain marketing aspects to making sure that you stay compliant with the Medicare Advantage enrollment period that they're going to be offered. Now, next best way to do this, and usually this is probably going to be the most generic way, and that's following up with an email. Again, in this aspect, keep it short and to the point. One main thing that we want to make sure that you do is to avoid direct religious themes this time of the year, unless you know their personal choices. Now, this is a really hot button-ish subject point, but even if you understand their personal choices, whether they are religious or not, it's still recommended to avoid it, just to avoid any possible misinterpretation of the message that you're trying to send. If at all putting that information in there, you can always place it in the signature if you're choosing to add it, just something that says Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas, something along that point. Again, making sure that you understand your client's personal choices before you even choose to go that route. And then of course, shy away from form letters in this aspect. Always try and keep it at least a little bit personal. Always call them by name, make sure that you reference the specific sale that you've done. And then again, make sure that you're verifying your post-sale contact numbers, because those contact numbers after the sale versus the customer service number that's happening during the sale, it's very possible that it could be different, and there could be a completely different number to contact as far as post-sale. So make sure that you're always doing that. Now, last but not least, last post-sale tip of the year is utilization of social media. Now, these messages can be formatted because you're actually going to be reaching out to a big, broader audience. And by broader audience, I'm talking Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. So you can go ahead and definitely pre-format these for the broad audience, making sure that you're posting now and often. Social media is a huge, huge advantage to anybody in the sales industry. So again, the main bullet point on this is post now. I mean, if you haven't done it recently, but you are using social media, as soon as we get off this session, go on your Facebook, go on your Twitter, post something, thanking everybody for their time, thank them for allowing the opportunity to serve them, and making sure that you provide ways to reach you if and when they need to do so, appropriate for the sales types that you've been doing, whether that be for Medicare and or under 65 crowd. So basic point of today's theme is to make sure that you do follow up with your clients. It is highly recommended to make sure that you're utilizing a personal touch, because those clients will remember that, and then that will be what connects them with their sale next year. With that said, that is today's Motivation Monday. If you have any questions, always reach out to us at training@ahcpsales.com or our wonderful agency services team at 877-228-8773. And last but not least, final quote of the year, always remember that the sales are contingent upon the attitude of the salesman, not the attitude of the prospect. So from our entire National General Training team, I personally wish you a safe and happy holiday season. I hope everybody had an amazing 2018, and I look forward to an outstanding 2019. Happy holidays, everybody. Cheers. I will see you on the flip side in 2019.